Have you ever wondered what was actually going on in this country between Donald Trump and Joe Biden? And maybe, I don't care if you're left or right, you may understand that the media is biased. They're not going to tell you the truth of the matter. And let me ask you a question. Do you think, because I'm wearing this hat and it says Bass Pro Shop, that anybody who wears Bass Pro Shop should be labeled as a redneck? Well, there's people on record, on video, at Facebook who work for Facebook in the content moderation that say, if a piece of content comes up and the person is wearing a MAGA hat, Make America Great, which is Trump's slogan, they are going to immediately label that person as a terrorist. We're going to get into that and a lot more in our Facebook rankings. So, with that being said, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to freaking see you. Buckle up. This is going to be a good one. So, with that being said, we have Real Clear Politics over here on the left. And what is reported by these organizations, this is Fox, ABC, YouGov is the Economist, CNBC, Rasmussen, Quinnipiac, blah, 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 blah. Organization after organization after organization. And you can go back to the beginning of the year and virtually all of them, like say around 60 or 80 different polls, have Biden winning. And Trump was ahead maybe like 4 of them. But is that really what America thinks? Well, let's take a look at these polls just a moment here and dive in a bit. We have polls here that are 1,000 people. So, what is this saying? Well, let me go ask 1,000 of my friends what they think who is going to win the presidency and who they're going to vote for, right? And then let's have the media report on that as the national poll of the week. That effectively is what's going on. We have polls. The latest one here is from Fox News, and they've got 1,104. 1,104 people were talked to. And then the media reports this as a national poll that is supposed to represent what the collective of, not your fucking neighborhood, but the collective American public, 330 million people think. Deceiving? Yeah, a little bit. So let's dive into one of these polls right here. So what I did is I just put ABC just because it stood out to me because there was no sample size. So I dove in to understand what the sample size was, and it's about 1,000. I think it was 1,005 people that they talked to. And they survey people over landlines and cell phones. So let's for a moment here understand the person who might pick up that phone. And then we're going to get into what's going on over at Facebook before we get into the 3 different factors we use to rank Joe Biden and Donald Trump in terms of the total number of likes on their page and over the past 30 days, the total number of people talking about them, and the total amount of search volume for each one of these candidates in terms of Donald Trump Facebook or Joe Biden Facebook to see who's actually more popular. Because that actually has a shitload of data versus 1,000 people. But let's get into the behavior here, right? Because the behavior over there is what people are actually doing versus you have to be sitting at home, you have to have nothing going on in your life, you have to want to waste your time picking up a robocall, answer the phone, wait till you talk to somebody, and then answer questions. Answer questions about what is going on. So who does this, right? Well, probably old people who don't have anything better to do, right? They might be retired. They might just be sitting at home. They might appreciate the opportunity to talk to somebody. But think about that for a second. So if you're going to talk to somebody and you talk to a large group of old people, what do you think is going to happen to the results here? Because when we look at the results, they're only in one fucking direction. Do you think that's possible? It could be from the way that it's sampled. And we're not going to get into the biases of how the questions are asked, or the person asking the questions can frame it in a different way even though they could be trained, we'll call it, because I'm sure the person over at Facebook who's calling people with MAGA hats terrorists and deleting them off Facebook, I'm sure she's probably had some type of training. But let's dive in here a little bit. Maybe these people are younger, right? Because they called cell phone people as well. Well, who's going to pick up if you have a cell phone and you're getting robocalled? I am surely not going to ever be in this survey because it's a robocall. I am not picking up spam. And I think a lot of people who actually have things to do in their life are not going to be picking up fucking spam robocalls. Just think for half a fucking second. Who is not going to be picking up the calls? Well, people who do things for their life, right? Maybe they have a job, right? Maybe they have kids. Maybe they have things they would rather do than talk to a spam call. Okay, we'll leave that aside. But let's try to understand who even has a landline. I don't know any of my friends who have landlines. I'm 35. I don't know any of my friends. I know my dad probably does for security on his house. My mom does not. That might be the only person I know who has a landline. I don't know anybody who has a fucking landline. But look at this here. It says, and then you have to dive into you have to go through multiple clicks to even find this information in terms of this is the sample design. So the cell phone only proportion based on data from the National Health Interview Survey, whatever that means. Maybe that's how they gathered the data. And we're not going to talk about where the data comes from because where the data comes from is also going to create biases, right? So the best way to understand what is actually going on, right? If your boss is standing over your shoulder, he's going to see what you're doing in that moment when you know he's standing over your shoulder. How is your behavior going to be? When your boss is on vacation, how is your behavior? That's what we're trying to capture. And that's what we're looking at, not just in terms of there's a sample size of 1,000 versus a sample size of millions, right? Which one do you think is going to be more accurate? But then also, when you introduce all of these biases, it's just bias on top of bias on top of bias on top of bias on top of bias. Like, don't you think for a fucking second that some of this is going to be inaccurate? Don't you think that there's a little bit of an agenda behind it? Maybe, maybe not. You're a smart, intelligent human being, and I think you know how to use this. I think it's about time we start doing that. So let's get back into here. So what they are saying here, the interviews were from the National Health Interview Survey, and interviews, they were 100 people on a cell phone out of 1,000 people versus now there are 335 people out of 1,000. So what that effectively is saying is 65+ % of the 1,000 people that they polled were using a landline. So who uses landlines? Again, I don't know. Maybe I'm an anomaly. I don't know any of my friends who have landlines. I don't know. Like, maybe just none of my friends have landlines. Possible. I have no idea. Why have a landline unless you need a security system for your house or you're old and you need like one of those monitors so like the police can come if you fall over or something. I don't know. Right? And I'm not trying to make light of it. It's just who the fuck uses a landline? I don't know. But this is all these biases here. But what about on Facebook? Well, if you guys haven't checked this out or don't know about this yet, I would highly recommend going check out Project Veritas. It is a awesome site for news where you're going to actually see what's going on and not you're not going to get these type of results. You're going to have accurate results. So let's just read through the title here. And this is like camera footage for somebody who worked at Facebook, and they recorded the camera footage, and then they quit Facebook. And you can go. I'll leave a link for this down below in the description if you want to check it out and go over there and sign up to get like actual news what's going on. I don't read any news in terms of like what you would say in terms of mainstream news, and this email caught my eye when it came in, and I did click over and watch it, and I knew that I needed to share it with more than just myself. So the title here is Facebook content moderator, just this lady right here. If someone is wearing a MAGA hat, I'm going to delete them for terrorism. It's come down here because it goes on, and you can go through and read this more yourself. But I selected this section here because there's some very, very disturbing stuff in here that makes you seriously question what is going on a global scale here. Because if it is this egregious, I'm getting goosebumps now because it's that chilling. And if it is this egregious, what is actually going on here? That's just you and I trying to figure out the truth. That people are actively pushing the truth further away and putting forth information that is not accurate. These are giant organizations that are actively trying to suppress what is actually going on in America. Share this video with somebody if you agree with the message that I'm putting forth in these videos. Okay. One of the content moderators was asked, so they wear the camera and then they'll go talk to their colleagues. You can watch the footage. They have this lady here, but then they also have another content moderator. They've got 3 or 4 different content moderators who've come forth and said, like, I'm not going to work here because this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, there's a complete and utter bias against conservatives and Trump. So one of the content moderators was asked if she had deleted every Republican item that came up on her queue in terms of the pieces of content that she needs to review. And she said, yes, exclamation point. I don't give no fucks, I'll delete it. You can see this in the video. The next says, did the moderator say, the same moderator said she does not take down anti-Trump content. So did you see that, right? If there's anything related to Republicans or Trump, she'll delete that in a second. She doesn't give 2 fucks. But if there's something anti-Trump, she's going to leave that up there, even if it did violate the policy. Weird. Kind of interesting, right? And this is a quote. You got to take it down, but I leave it up, she said. If you see something that's not supposed to be up, it's probably me. This is in regards to the anti-Trump content that is up there. Even if it does violate policy, she's going to leave it up there. Another content moderator, so these are people who all work in like at the same office in terms of content moderation. So if something gets flagged by Facebook's algorithm, it gets sent to content moderators, right? This is why, like, if you get something that is flagged, you're not going to actually, unless you get this lady here or male or whoever this person is, you're not going to have your content restored. Another content moderator, Laura, whatever the person's name is, was asked what she did when she saw a post supporting the president. And this is the headline in the video. If someone is wearing MAGA hat, I'm going to delete them for terrorism. And then she goes on to say, I think we're all doing that, as she looks around at her friends in the office. This is absolutely ridiculous. Another highlight here at the top, and this is from the person who came forth, Mick Elroy, and it says 75 to 80% of posts selected by Facebook's algorithm for moderator review support President Donald Trump, Republicans, or conservative causes. That's weird. I thought we were supposed to have free speech here, because that's not happening. So that's why I'm doing this and trying to understand the actual reality that organizations like Facebook, organizations like other ones over here in terms of the news and media are trying to suppress what the truth is. And to do that, we use a site called Social Blade, and they track different social profiles. So we put in Donald Trump and Joe Biden's Facebook page. And then we came down to take a look here at the total number of likes. So this is kind of like followers, the total number of people who have actively liked this candidate's page over the last 30 days. And we can see here for Donald Trump, it was 206,810 people. So let's go over here and take a look at this. This is the second week we did this, so make sure you press that subscribe button because we have an awesome video coming up tomorrow too on a different platform. So you have to press that subscribe button and that bell notification to see which one that is. It's either going to be Instagram or it might be Twitter. You'll have to find out. So make sure you press that subscribe button and that bell notification. So we have Joe Biden total number of followers over the last 30 days was 100,000 versus Donald Trump, which was 200,000. So we've got 2 to 1, meaning for every 2 people that follow Trump, there's 1 person that follows Joe Biden. But that's kind of interesting. Because all these polls say something else. But what are people doing when your boss is on vacation? What is your behavior? Well, people's behavior is they're following fucking Trump. When you're like, well, I follow Trump and I don't support him at all. Well, my next question might be, do you have better things to do with your life than waste it following somebody you don't fucking like? I don't judge you. I just have better things to do with my time than follow people that I don't give a shit about. In all honesty, I don't get that, why people might do that. Let's move on to the next category here. And this is the people talking about somebody. So this is right up here. You can go look up all this data yourself. That's why I want to give you the platform, all the pieces of where I'm getting it. And you can see that there's 3.1 plus million people talking about Donald Trump. So what does talking about mean? It means like commenting, mentions, shares, etc. That means talking about. And Facebook puts a bunch of them together, and then they call that the talking about people. Kind of give you a gauge of the conversation happening around people. And we have 3.1 plus million for Donald Trump and under 800,000 for Joe Biden. So we've got about a 4 to 1 ratio there. That means for every 1 person that's talking about Joe Biden, there's 4 people talking about Donald Trump. And you're like, well, I talk about Donald Trump because I fucking hate him. Okay, cool. Well, let's take a look at who is actually getting searched for. Right. So what we did here is pulled up Google Trends. Google is the #1 website in the planet. They're the #1 search engine in the planet. And they give us this fancy tool here. You can put in terms like Donald Trump Facebook or Joe Biden Facebook, and then you get to compare them to see who gets more search volume. This is in the United States over the last 30 days on Google. And if we look at this, we can see that Donald Trump has 73% of all searches for those two phrases, where Joe Biden has 26%. So again, about 3 to 1. There's 3 people that are searching for Donald Trump's Facebook page for every 1 person that is searching for Joe Biden's Facebook page. And again, if you just look at these numbers for a second, we've got 200,000 versus 100,000, so that's a total over 300,000. We've got 3.1 million versus 800,000, so that's close to 4 million. And then we have searches. We don't have the total aggregate volume of searches. However, YouTube is the #1 site in the world and the #1 search engine in the world. And I would bet that it completely dwarfs these other numbers here. And it is somewhere above tens of millions of data points. But if we come over here, I'm sorry, I'm laughing because this is such a joke. We have this poll here from NBC, right? NBC, Wall Street Journal. 900 people. This is not a joke. This is actual reality. Like, this is where we fucking live in 2020. 900 people are asked. And then the Wall Street Journal turns around and says, we asked 900 people, and they said, this is not a joke. I'm serious. This is actually how things are done. It comes across as a joke because it is so laughable. Anybody who uses their head can see this. We live in 2020. Where the amount of data available to us is astronomical. The ability to look at the data and gather data in amounts that are much greater than 900 without having all the ridiculous biases that come into play here that we talked about very briefly at the beginning of this video show over here. In every single one of these categories, Trump is winning. That's so interesting because that is not what these portray. Now, if you like what we're doing here and you want to support what we're doing, smash that like button so that YouTube will show this video to more people, unless they're completely biased, just like Facebook is, which could be possible. In that case, copy the link for this video and share it with somebody directly who you know will get value out of it. We need to spread the message of what is going on and the suppression around the actual reality. Appreciate you guys. Just make sure you press that subscribe button and the bell notification so you can get notified for tomorrow's video when it drops. We've got a video dropping every single day this week. And after this video, you'll probably understand that it could be different than what the media is reporting on here. So don't forget to press that subscribe button and that bell notification. Peace.